Workshop for the Village of Fredonia, 911 Church Street in Fredonia, New York, on this May 18th, 2026 at 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm Fredonia Mayor Mike Ferguson. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've also been informed that we have our flags in the wrong order, so I will fix that after tonight's meeting. I want to make sure nothing's to be to the right, so we will take care of that with great respect to the flag. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everything is going well with you. Beautiful night out here in Fredonia, New York. We've got a number of resolutions, department reports, some new business, old business, and then we'll find out if we're going into executive session or not. We'll start with resolutions.
Excuse me, Mayor Ferguson.
Yes.
I will not be in attendance next week, and I just would like to read a statement. It will only take a couple of minutes.
Certainly.
Okay. I will not vote to eliminate public comment from village board meetings. I am a public servant, and I believe part of my job as a trustee is to hear concerns, suggestions, and comments from village residents. If their preferred method is taking the time to come to the board meetings to be heard in person, they should have that option. With that being said, I would like to address what happened at our last board meeting. The actions of some in attendance at the last board meeting were unacceptable. If my students behaved that way, they would face consequences for their actions. I occasionally need to remind my 12 and 13-year-old students to keep their hands, feet, and objects to themselves and to refrain from using foul language. Those rules should go without saying in a room full of adults. We had several high school students in attendance at the last village meeting. They approached me for my signature on their forms for government class, and they were bewildered by what they had witnessed. Then, as I was signing their forms and the scuffle broke out behind them, they became frightened. They were afraid to leave the room. I looked at the students and apologized for what they had to witness, saying, "I'm so sorry, adults should not behave this way." It was very upsetting to me as one of their former teachers. Please consider what the students took away from that meeting. Do you think they left the meeting with a positive impression of their local government? Do you think they have faith in the adults in charge of things? I want our students to have pride in their hometown and possibly consider staying here, working here, and raising a family here. I am asking everyone involved with these meetings to be respectful, even with people whose opinions differ from yours. We need to have decorum at these meetings in order to work through our problems in a civil manner and hopefully reach some solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution number 1 is hiring recreation attendants.
The only question I had is, I know there was a brief discussion about having all of the activities at Russell Joy Park, and I'm assuming that's not what we're going to do. They're going to be at the regular locations, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we would need that many. All right.
We are also looking at the fact that we had one park closed last year just because of attendance. We opened them all after much discussion and then found out that there was one child that was going there all summer long.
Right. So
when we closed it, that child just went to Russell Joy Park with the rest.
So are we using the park that wasn't used last year?
More than likely, I think we're going to have a discussion with the director of rec to find out what's going on.
That discussion. I mean, if we get as many students this year as there were last year, if there's only 1 or 2 kids going there, then we're wasting money having a rec director there because they can easily go to another location.
Right.
So, right.
How is that done? Is that done by address, or do they pick where they want to go?
They can go wherever they want to go.
Basically, they sign up basically for everything they want to go, but if one park's closed, they usually go to another one.
I just didn't know if it was...
Yeah.
It's probably the closest one. I don't know.
They also did a great job last year during rain, thunder, lightning, all those things. Yeah. We closed it early enough that parents were able to make plans. Number 2, Dave Bird rescinding resolution 5/11/26.
So, Mayor, I am sponsoring this resolution. And so I do have a few comments on that. I'd like to read aloud, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's about a little over a page. Before I recite my resolution statement, I will now read a preamble. On May 11th, after a Fredonia board meeting, Trustee Brockler called us into executive session. He's not here tonight, citing a personal matter with the DPW. I was unaware of this and expect just another CSEA grievance. In fact, no, it was a call to terminate a recently hired DPW street supervisor, Mr. David Bird. Now, in executive session, the call and following words were generated by Trustee Lazzaroni. She continued to recite allegations of Mr. Bird's improper conduct. They were all a function of her own personal investigation and were verbally alleged with no evidential details in support. Trustee Lazzaroni has expressed her criticism of Mr. Bird since she began her trustee position on Jan 1, 2026. Since then, the constant questioning began to establish a pattern to discredit Mr. Bird. Please recall the $3 charge on the DPW invoice for antacid tablets. Next, there was intense questioning of Mr. Bird's very creative proposal to utilize CHIP's New York State funding to purchase a new snowplow truck. Proposal spans 2 fiscal years. Additionally, Bird communicated explanatory details of the New York State DOT office in Buffalo to ask, verify, and approve his plan. In the spirit of transparency, the explanatory email with the DOT attachments was sent to all trustees and the mayor. Next, controversy ensued around a tree takedown in the village. Mr. Bird agreed to have a tree that posed a safety issue taken down. Kravitz Tree Service was summoned to do the job as it was beyond the limits of our DPW crew. An invoice for $2,500 for this work eventually came to our treasurer. It was then clarified that Kravitz had offered to do this work free of charge for the village, and the incorrectly submitted invoice was canceled. Kravitz Tree Service has assisted the village with tree removals in the past. There had also been controversy regarding trees in the village right away. Who owns them and whose responsibility is it? Mr. Bird pursued answers and clarity from our village legal team. That alone supports his motivation and action to do what is right, even under uncertain about legal procedures. Next case is a statement from Trustee Lazzaroni regarding the DPW supervisor's 2023 Silverado pickup truck, which sustained body damage this past winter while Mr. Bird was driving it in the Village Hall parking lot right out here. He stated that he scraped a snowbank and possibly a physical device. The event was immediately reported to the mayor and the treasurer. It was an accident, and Mr. Bird followed appropriate protocol by reporting it. Next were allegations that Mr. Bird had a heated discussion with an irate Fredonia resident about leaves not being picked up on his property. I listened to verbal testimony from 2 DPW staff members stating that no physical encounter occurred, and it was simply an exchange of words. In Mr. Bird's defense, he never had an opportunity to do so, nor was he ever warned, either verbally or in writing, for any reason. Additionally, the 3 trustees never asked Mr. Bird to discuss anything, even after his repeated attempts to communicate with them. A hasty decision was made after the board engaged in a slanted executive session to state justifiable cause to fire Mr. Bird. The village charter states that majority rules on voting practice. And New York State law says at-will termination is valid. However, the 3 trustees crossed the line by using their majority power and a handy late-night situation while 1 trustee was absent on vacation. After dismissing executive session, the resolution was read, and the board took a termination vote. My perspective is that this is a bad look for public transparency. I propose two basic yet significant actions. First, the termination vote is rescinded and Mr. Byrd is rehired as DPW supervisor. Two, that the questionable process and procedure initiated by Trustee Lazzaroni be made crystal clear to all village residents, and that her allegations against Mr. Byrd are baseless and motivated by personal and political selfish ambitions. As your board village trustee for the past 2.5 years, I do not take this responsibility lightly. In fact, I take it very seriously. This administration inherited a broken, crumbling infrastructure. I have been and will be an advocate and active player in restoring it, as I have taken the lead to make it right. That is what real leaders do. My time and effort are directed toward positive goals and directions for this village. We have enough disruption opposing our efforts. Internal attacks are not just negative, they are divisive, killing our morale and spirit. I advocate for truth and justice. Let's reverse this baseless accusation and decision and move ahead. We have a lot of work to do.
Anything else?
Well, I'd like to go into executive session and discuss it.
We have a motion to go into executive session?
Do you want to do that now or at the end of the meeting? Because we're not going to vote on anything today. That's a resolution that will come up before us
Monday.
at the next meeting. We're not.
We can either go into executive session now or following the meeting, either or.
Let's do it following the meeting. I recommend we do it following the meeting when we've gone through all the work
I
that
agree.
needs to be done.
Okay. Leanne?
Because if we go into executive session now, then we need to clear the room, right? And then who knows how long we'll be in there? And I
Right.
just don't think that's fair to the people that are here in the meeting.
Is there any other comments on number 2? We'll go in executive session at the end of the meeting. Number 3 is sewer relief.
There's a letter from the resident in our packet. He had some broken pipes in his backyard. He paid the water portion of that bill because the water came groundwater, didn't go into the sewer system. He asked that he get relief from the sewer bill and be charged whatever his average sewer bill was for the last year. So that's his request.
Is this the same one that Sam Drea was working with?
No.
You happen to know, Trustee Esperson, has there been a precedent for this kind of action before?
Yeah.
There has.
Yep. There was a resident a couple years ago that didn't live in the residence, and nobody was in there. And I don't remember what the percentage was, but he got a quarterly bill that was way out of whack, and nobody had been in that house for, I think, a year or so. And then another Fredonia resident was looking after the house and verified that no one had been in there. So, and as far as I recall, in the last 4.5 years, that was the only one.
To answer Mrs. Lazzaroni's question, the one that was being represented by Sam Drea, a letter went out offering the ability to pay that over the next 12 months, the total
I
difference.
saw that. I just
Okay.
was trying to make sure that, we didn't set a precedent for one
Yeah.
person and not
Sure.
somebody else.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
all.
Budget transfer for cable purchases.
This is being transferred from that grant that we received previously from cable.
That's an annual grant?
No, it was a one-time grant.
One-time.
He just hasn't spent it all yet.
I believe that was from last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5 is budget transfer.
Looking at the list, that should be plural.
Plural. Number 6 is engineering study for distribution lines by Labella Associates.
I can forward some commentary on that. The way the resolution currently reads, I'd like to amend it with some verbal comments. This is based on a discussion I had today with Labella Engineering and Trustee Esperson to clarify a little bit more in depth of the resolution. The specific point that I'd like to make known is that, and it's not clearly stated, it's not in the resolution, is that it would cost $15,000 for additional services allowance, quote unquote. In the original Labella proposal, a $50,000 additional services allowance was provided. And what they are asking for is, if we do consider going forward with our water main replacement project, that they would need $15,000 to do so, and a highly accelerated effort on their part within 10 days to meet the New York State EFC grant application deadline. So there's just a little bit more on that, just so it's known that this is nothing that we're going to have to generate additional dollars.
And any money that comes out of that $50,000, we need to authorize them to use. They just won't use it.
Right.
So they would have to come to us with authorization for any of that money.
All purchases.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking because I want to just make sure that this is a separate project unto the water project. So do we have to get more than one proposal for that?
So since it should, technically, yes.
That's,
We
Technically.
had gotten one from, what was the
Square
company?
Engineering.
Square Engineering
have we
as well.
looked at, have we re-looked at that one to see what their price was? And
We are in the process of looking at that, yes.
I think it was much cheaper.
Yeah, and I guess what I might say is, in the PER that we got from Labella, it does include infrastructure work, not specifically Central and Temple. They didn't say which infrastructure, so, which is why they don't need to prepare a new report, just an addendum.
Right, but that was going to be 6.2 million.
Right.
I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know, it was a long time ago when you guys gave me the Square Engineering stuff, but I think it was like 2.6.
Yeah, and I think
For Central and Temple.
I think we need to compare the two and make sure that we're comparing
Yeah,
apples
we
to apples.
spoke about this earlier
Yeah.
today, and we got to be careful that we don't compare apples and oranges here, that the scope of work is equivalent for both.
I have a question, though. Even if it's coming out of their allowance, that allowance is still part of EFC and Department of Health funding.
Right.
So how, after the mayor and I's conversation with EFC and the Department of Health, they said the projects should be completely separate and not
So I don't know, can we use those
So how can
funds
we
to
use
do
those
that?
funds for this? That's my question.
That's a question that we would have to ask EFC.
So I just think, I understand there are apples and oranges as far as companies, and maybe the scope of work is different, but I would like to know the comparison of what the scope of work is. And, I mean, there's obviously a big difference between 6.2 and 2.6, so
Right.
there's something that Square isn't going to be doing.
Right.
But I would like to understand that a little better.
What the differences are.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
all. I just would like to
Yeah.
understand it a little better.
There are going to be definitions and limitations, so that's called scope of work, so we
I
need to
understand that.
carefully look at that.
Part of the discussion as well is, just for the general public's knowledge, trying to save the taxpayers' money, trying to wrap that into the main project under one or two asks versus multiple asks. We're measuring whether it's more financially or fiscally responsible to put it in as one project, or to have them, what's best for the community, what's best for the taxpayer. Two separate deals, or does it have to be done that way? So that's what we're checking out.
Is EFC saying, are they saying that it
That's
has
what
to?
they told us,
EFC
that it
suggests
had
that.
to be separate.
Yeah,
And that would include a seeker separate
Right.
study.
right.
Yeah, so I just don't want to get bogged down in the details if we don't have to be, you know, let's make sure we cover our bases, like, let's make sure
Understood.
we do everything the way we're supposed to. That's all, and I'm not saying you're not, I'm saying I just want to be clear in my head.
We need a little bit more homework on that.
Thank you.
Number 7, suspension of public comment.
Yeah, and I'm the one that requested that. When we have residents being threatened in a meeting and trustees coming to the point of tears and students in the room that are afraid to leave the room, I think that rises to the level of public safety. And who's going to want to come to a meeting not feeling safe? I mean, who's going to want to be in attendance if they think they may get threatened if they say something that a group doesn't agree with? And that scares me. That scares me that it's come to this political climate that this country is in, to have people threatened at a meeting. That's serious. And if that was me, I'd be pursuing a legal
Well,
action.
I don't know what was said. I don't know what was said that participated all of that. I don't know what was said. I just saw the pushing and shoving. So I don't know what happened. I don't like it. I don't think that anybody should be, that should never happen. Not in the public anywhere, ever.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Not at a board meeting, but never anywhere.
So
100%.
I called that couple to find out exactly what happened. And they walked the situation through with me. And it's just, if that was me, if that was my wife, there would be a restraining order, there would be legal action going forward. If they choose not to do that, that's their choice. But if it were me, if it came to that, that's what I would do.
I attended obviously I was in NICOM this week, New York Conference of Mayors. And on Thursday, May 14th, I attended the Fundamentals of FOIL and Open Meetings Law, Navigating New York Sunshine Laws, as well as others. I was shocked and appalled to see 14 other communities in a ballroom state that they are going through the exact same thing, that people are not sticking to topic, not sticking to agenda, that it's getting physical, that it's getting, so part of me was, well, okay, we're not the only ones, but that doesn't make it right. It's gotten to the point, once again, with all due respect to Ms. Cruz-Keefe, I agree with her, but when the law states, open law in New York State states, and this was backed by Mr. Wade Beltramo, who's the general counsel for the New York Commission of Conference of Mayors, that we must hold a meeting that the public can attend, as they're doing right now, to observe the inner workings of the government. You're not required to have speaking, which we always have had, and you're not required to broadcast, which we always do. The manipulation of those times, simple things, silly things like, well, the word agenda's on here, so I want to talk about the agenda. And I mean, manipulation of things just needs to stop. And we need to conduct the business that we need to conduct in safety. It's, I thank you for bringing it up, but it's also my job to make sure that people are safe. And when I see students trembling and when I see people getting angry and poking and pushing each other and getting out of control and seeing our board upset, and it's difficult for me to maintain composure. So I think, as we discussed 2 meetings ago about the possibility of temporary suspension, not permanent but temporary, until cooler heads prevail, we are always available via email, via phone. I've offered to have people come into my office and sit. I have people in my office almost every day. I am always willing to listen to anybody and everybody that comes to my office. You know, we talk about Mr. Sedota was a very nice man, and he was a great man for this community. Was in my office 10, 12, 13 times before he passed. Without conflict, without name calling, without any of the things that go on. But going to a conference and seeing that there are, and they cut it off after 14 communities, and having men with cameras show up at my house, outside my door, unannounced, in a very threatening manner. I didn't want to mention it, but it happened, and you can ask all my neighbors who saw me standing outside for over an hour and a half with these 2 individuals. People have a right to question whether you need to be standing at my front door. Is your right to do so. I felt, not knowing who these people were, I worried about my family. And quite frankly, I'm going to be quite honest with this room. I've had to install 3 cameras on my house. 3 o'clock in the morning a month ago, someone was banging on my window the night after a meeting on my back patio door. I partially got them on camera, scared my wife. This is a community where the people here, both sides, are trying to do good for this community. That's all we're trying to do. There's no financial benefit. I can tell you from the $12,000 I make and the $5,000 these people make, it's sure as hell not for the money. It is because we all care. We can have different opinions, and it's okay. We all care about the direction that this village is going, and we're here to do the best that we can for this village. And the constant disruption and the constant public portion, as I remember it, is being younger, people would come in and say, hey, I got a problem. This is the problem. This is what happened. How do I get this tree off my whatever? And, or do you have a dog catcher? Nobody came to get my dog. But the finger pointing, the belittling, the constant, you stink and you stink and you stink and you stink and you stink, and here's the reasons why you stink. That's not what public opinion is for. And it's gotten out of control in the state. And when it's at state level, I'm sure it's in other areas. We need to take temporary, if not permanent, action to protect the people who come into this room and to protect the people who are sitting in this dais. That's my responsibility as a mayor. It's not to stop people from speaking freely. You have every opportunity to come to my office. You have opportunity to email me, to call on the phone number, as you do for everybody here. The 2 gentlemen that came to our houses, you guys are one of the rare public governments that put your cell phone number and your email on the website. So enough's enough. It's embarrassing, especially for a community this size, especially for people who are just trying to do what's best for the community and work together. You can have differences of opinion. It doesn't have to become personal. And I thank you for suggesting this, but this isn't about taking away people's rights to speak. People have 7 days a week when you can call me, and many, many, many do. And many call each of you each and every day. So you have an opportunity to talk to us. Nobody's taking away freedom of speech. I'll wait for Mrs. Lazzaroni to come back. We can start on department reports.
Did we, it seems a month ago, we decided, instead of department giving us a report now, almost an executive session, they would be more free to discuss whatever it is they wanted to discuss with us. Did we decide not to go forward with that when I was gone?
We did and we didn't, so.
We didn't decide?
No, we didn't change anything since
Okay.
you've been gone.
We discussed it. Nothing got changed.
Okay. Just asking.
You can always bring the resolution back on
Yeah, yeah.
and vote in an open forum.
Okay, code enforcement office. Sorry, Chuck. I also want to apologize to Chuck LaBarbera because as many of you may have on your phones, you have a special list of people on the front of your phone that automatically comes up. I know every department head I've accidentally butt dialed, as they call it. Leanne. Chuck's a daily basis, sometimes 2-3 days. So I got to find a way to lock that screen, Chuck. Sorry about that, but I think it was at least 4 times in the last 24 hours I nailed your phone. So I'm just going to have something that automatically pops up and just said, sorry. But sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
We have a zoning board meeting coming up in June. Got 3 cases on it. And then the planning board will be meeting on the following week. And they're gonna finish up, hopefully, the cannabis law with the help of our attorney. Our attorney will either be phoned in or will be here to guide the board. Last planning board meeting, we had our first battery storage variance. and the zoning board, especially it was a special use permit, and the zoning board approved it. So they're set to go. We're at the 343 Central, those apartments. We'll have a battery storage operation there. Crosby's is going crazy. They're like flying through that. They have the walls up. They'll put the roof on tomorrow, or the trusses up tomorrow. And that part of the construction for those guys are done. Their plumbing, underground plumbing's all in. And the hospital is just like, they're going like gangbusters. They're doing footers and walls, and every day they're pouring concrete. So we're there every Saturday.
Yeah.
We're busy. Last month was another record month, over $1 million in construction.
It's 3 straight months, correct?
All year so far, yeah. All year I think we've had over $1 million. So we've been busy, and things are happening here.
Can I ask you for a definition, just for the people who are watching, the people who are in the room? I think when everybody hears battery storage, all the hair on our necks go up a little bit, seeing what's happened nationally with some types of battery storage that are uncontrollable, as the fire chief has said in the past, can't be controlled, can't be contained. And then, of course, whatever way the wind is blowing, those people need to be evacuated. Can you explain the differences in the types of batteries that have been proposed to the community?
Well, there's 2 tiers that we have in our law. One's under 600, and then over 600 is a tier 2. This was a tier 1. It was under 600 kilowatts. So it was actually kind of just for that facility. Where people get, I think, nervous is the big commercial batteries that are allowed, really, they got to be like 1,200 feet away from the houses and everything. So the planning board did their due diligence on that part of the law. The tier 1s can go anywhere, but they still need a special use permit. They still have to come in for a permit. But I think you're going to see a lot more of those, especially where you see solar panels and stuff, because the solar panel will charge the batteries, and then they'll use the batteries to fill when the power goes out and stuff. But we already have one resident that has a battery in his house. He got it before the law, but the tier 1 is just for that complex. And the unit that they're using, they have a bladder in them that if it gets overheated, the bladder will actually send off the foam and the water and stuff until the fire department gets there. So it's not a big concern like you would see on the big commercial ones, the big huge batteries that they're trying to use power off peak and stuff like that. So I think this was a good project for our first one. This was a good project, and we got our feet wet. And it met all the bells and whistles, so we had to approve it. You know, it met the zoning, it met what the criteria of the battery storage law had laid out. So I think it'll be a good project.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Chuck, I know there was questioning on technology and the safety on that tier 1 by the PB chairman and the fire chief. What came of that?
The fire chief at the zoning board meeting was comfortable. He didn't really have much he was at our meeting and didn't have much input after they gave him some documentation and stuff. The units they're using, they're putting in actually in hospitals. So after putting them in hospitals, they got to be fairly safe. I think the fire chief was okay. I'm not sure about our planning board chair. The zoning board really, and I had our attorney weigh in on it. Because they met all the criteria, we couldn't deny it. It was confusing for some people. This wasn't a use variance, where use variances the zoning board pretty much always denies because nobody can meet the criteria that's set forth by New York State, not by the village. There's 4 criteria that you have to meet, which is in the state zoning law. And most people can't really meet that, so the zoning board really has no option but to deny it. And they're schooled that way. In school, when they go to school, they're told, most use variances should not be approved. But this is a special use permit. It just gives us guidelines to maybe put more bells and whistles and safety issues in place. So we had to approve it. It's just what we made them do, if we didn't like what they were doing, we could have made them change things. But they were far enough away from residents, they were back off the road, they met all our zoning for the R3 district, and they met all the criteria for the battery storage. So it's hard to deny something like that. So
based on what you're saying, you have a level of confidence in it.
I do, and I can't speak for the chief, but he didn't really have too much comment. At the meeting, he was fine with everything, and when the zoning board, did their due diligence.
I'm sure knowing him, he'll give us his opinion.
Marty?
I said, knowing him, I'm sure he'll give us his opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, and he did in the beginning. Because he was confused, not knowing what was going on.
I know.
But I think he did meet with the company. I think they gave him enough information to satisfy him. But it's something that we're going to have to get used to. It's something that's going to come. Eventually, it's going to come. And the small ones, we shouldn't really fear. It's your bigger commercial ones is where you want to make sure you have enough bells and whistles in place.
And I think if I remember correctly, they were gonna, the representative from the battery company was gonna forward a video of the batteries, and if they overheated, how it was contained, that they had presented to the Buffalo Fire Department. They were gonna provide a copy of that video to Josh, to the fire chief, so we could take a look at it.
They're actually putting these units right in the apartments in Buffalo. A lot of the apartments have them right in the buildings. I mean, there's firewalls and stuff like that they have to provide under the building code, but they follow the building code. I thought when he had met with us, and I thought the architect said the same thing, that I think they've tried to overheat them and get them to burn, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So the UL rating was real high on them. But they tried to overload them through the factory, when the factory had them set to UL, and they couldn't get them to really burn. So, I mean, it should be a safe unit. I don't see it being that big of a deal for that complex. It's just for that complex. It doesn't serve anybody else. It's not being sold back to the grid or anything. It's just battery storage in case they lose power. They will have, the apartments will have power until the grid puts it back on.
I think, though, in that discussion at the planning board meeting, they were talking about interior battery storage units, right, not external, like the original proposal was external.
What was in front of the planning board, just for their comments, was outdoors. It was outside. They, in their presentation, said that they were looking at putting them inside the buildings, but they have never brought it to me for that. So we really couldn't have spoke about that or denied it for that, because we really had nothing in front of us except for what the project was in front of us. So
all we're looking at right now is tier 1 exterior.
just a tier 1, yeah.
Got it.
Chuck, are you available tomorrow?
What time?
It'd have to be late morning. I want to talk to you about the federal law because I don't understand it, so I don't understand, there's some stuff I don't, sorry.
If she has her voice.
And allergies. And I just would like to sit down with you and talk about it so I understand it, because we get lots of phone calls about it.
Yep.
So, and I wasn't here when the original resolutions came out and a little bit, but if we could sit down, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't want to call you if you were busy, you had plans for something tomorrow.
No, we are real busy, but don't worry about this.
All right, just tell me if you're too busy to talk and call me back.
No,
Okay.
never. Just go ahead.
All right, I just want to understand it a little better than I do. I have some questions.
Just let me know, because sometimes I might go out to the job sites and stuff.
I'll just call you in the morning and
Give me a
set up
call,
a time.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. DPW, Doug Bunch.
Not really here as a department head, I'm here to support Dave, but I can tell you what's going on. We started our spring flush. We'll be flushing midnights for 2 weeks at hydrants. Nobody's just seen any discolored water. If you do, just run your cold tap. Flower baskets are going up with the flags from Memorial Day. Lake Shore Paving's going to come up with a quote to stripe Central and Temple. And the bike lane, put that back. That should go under chips.
Stockton County will do it for pretty
Yeah, I heard that county may be able to do it, so I can make a call to the county tomorrow.
So they painted before for us, and they do it per day, and they're pretty quick about it. But other than that, just road cuts and the usual.
Good day's day, right? Yeah. Thank you. Police Department.
Had a phone conversation with Enterprise Rental Car last week. It seems like a pretty neat kind of a setup that they have. Their rentals are based on 100% valuation of the vehicle up front, and then at the end, instead of like a residual value on a personal lease, that valuation is from what you purchase it for at state bid to zero, and then whatever equity is in that vehicle at the end that they sell it for, because they sell it for us at the end, that equity can be rolled over into the next line, into the next vehicle, or it can just be money that just goes back into the village. Their options are endless. They upfit them. They have a, repair kind of checks and balances on the vehicles themselves. It seems like a really neat program. I provided them the VINs for the vehicles that we currently have to get a quote for, what the startup would be, because the vehicles have a value to them, just to kind of get us in the ballpark of where we would be at. We have some vehicles that are, one's sitting at the DPW and one's in the back lot. Those have a value to them that they're willing to extend to us to put into this program. And it's not just us, it's the entire village. If the other departments are in need of vehicles, they're not just, light duty vehicles. They lease plows, they lease, the whole 9 yards. So it's something that's out there.
We're like anything, like anybody else, we're still paying on vehicles that really outlived their life. So there might be some good things to look into with that.
Officer Alstrom is in the Erie County Academy. He just successfully completed range. He's due to graduate in, I believe it's June 11th. So it's coming up pretty quick. He'll start field training with us this summer. Hopefully have him on the road after 6 weeks of field training with us. Sergeant Investigator Hand just completed 2 weeks of range officer school. So there's new requirements the state of New York is put upon us for our range instructors. Our current range instructor, well, we had one retire a little while ago, and Officer Naparella has kind of filled into that role where he's become our range officer. Officer Naparella will get to the point where he has enough years where he's capable of retiring. If he decides to, I don't want to have a department without a range officer, so we went ahead and trained up someone that can run that program. There's prerequisites that are required, and our training on this side of the state is pretty sparse, I guess is a nice way of putting it. The one training that's required for it, instructor development school, isn't offered often. Sergeant Hand had instructor development, which allowed him to be able to go to this training. Officer Vickers started the academy today, the Stock County Sheriff's Academy. He's due to graduate the beginning of October. So in October, he'll be able to go through field training and hopefully get him on the road for us also. And I have 3 officers that are going to attend, it's called A-Ride training. It's an enhanced roadside field sobriety detection class. It's 2 days. It helps you kind of meander through the possibility of what the intoxicant could be, and allows the officer to make a good choice on if you need a drug recognition expert, or if it's something else besides alcohol that may be causing the intoxication. So they're going to be going through that training at the end of this month. So.
Super. Thank you very much.
I just have a question. Are there drug recognition experts that the county utilizes that they will make available to us?
So they're called DREs for us. The state police and the sheriff's department have a few of them. Sometimes we actually utilized one of them during our Fred Fest, the extra help that they provided us. We used one actually across from the White Inn on a traffic stop that night. They're few and far between. The training is extremely expensive. It's weeks of training. A lot of times, like in Arizona, I believe, and I believe there's one down in Florida. So that training is not, well attended by smaller departments. So
Understood. Thank you.
Also understand that there's possibility that the college may be adding a crime lab to their offering someday. So
that would be beautiful.
Had a chance to talk to Dr. Collison today. And, appreciate the communication that he always shares with us. Fire department. Chief is on military duty this week, but I want to congratulate, won't give out their names. We had 2 firefighters bring new life into the world this week with their wives. So we want to congratulate both our firefighters on actually within a week and a half. So and congratulate them for their newborns, and just great people doing great work, and we appreciate what they do. Recreation department. I think we spoke a little bit about that. Does anybody have any updates on that right now? I know we are taking reservations and daily, and those seem to be going fairly smooth. So if you are looking to possibly rent that space, I would suggest that you contact Code Enforcement Office, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, Water Department this year, Water Department. Downstairs with Kara. As soon as you walk in, first door on your left, and Kara can book that for you. While I was in NICOM this week, had a very interesting discussion with a company that builds self-cleaning restrooms, which obviously we cannot look at right now, but there are state monies available for those types of programs. I'm going to meet with those people later in the month just to see. There's also a bunch of equipment that, many of our playgrounds are getting old. A lot of things are rusting that used to be rusty. A lot of plastic is fading that just because with the intense sun. So we're going to have to start looking down the road at how we're going to replace these. And I know someplace like Russell Joy Park or something would benefit from self-cleaning bathrooms. But it was interesting demonstration. Wastewater treatment plant. Dave's not with us today.
I have
you have
his,
okay, go right ahead,
report.
sir.
I'll read it out loud. Good morning. Here is my report for May 18th, 2026. This is David Phelps, Supervisor of Wastewater. We replaced the gravity belt for belt process number 1. David Hine from Polydyne Inc. was at the plant for training on polymer optimization. We improved the process with reduced polymer usage. Filter bed number 2 is still out of service. The gearbox is scheduled to ship on 5/21/26. Once received, we can install the gearbox in-house. During March and April, we have experienced high flows due to heavy rains and groundwater saturation. David Phelps, please reach out if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank you. Water treatment plant.
We had divers at the reservoir for a couple weeks. They're able to verify that both upper and lower intake are operational. We just need to get a keyway stem to open the lower intake. It's going to be about 26 feet long, so it's going to have to be fabricated. I'm working on quotes for that right now.
Okay. That was the lock that was rusted up or seized up or was bent?
Yeah, it was destroyed. It got deteriorated
During
with
the
time and water and
snowstorm?
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they rebuilt the platform and everything, got that up and going, and checked the intake. Both valves are operational, so I'm just waiting on a keyway to actually start exercising them.
Excellent.
Nice.
Thank you. It's always good when you have a short report.
How are the new employees working out?
Very well.
Yeah? How long do they work with somebody?
I mean, he's finishing up his last bit of training that he'll be put into rotation in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, awesome. Good, thank you.
I'd just like to report also that I visited Lewis at the water treatment plant last week, spent a couple hours over there checking out the reservoir and the water treatment plant itself, and more specifically our newly installed chlorination project. Everything looks good. We do have a few questions and concerns. We are currently forwarding those questions to Labella.
Thank you. Under new business, upcoming events, we have 4, and more to come. The 2026-2027 Festival Italia Fredonia Italian Heritage Festival, which is Irishman usually is the PA announcer for that, will be coming up for approval. 2026-2028 through 2008, 8 Great Wednesdays in the Park. It's being put on by Festivals Fredonia. We thank them for what they do. As you may or may not know, the farmers market opened Saturday, and had a good turnout and a nice turnout of farmers here as well. C is 2026 through 9 Beaver Club Pickleball Tournament. Some of us may have some interest in that. And D was 2026-10 Hirschmania Cemetery Tour and Car Show. This was a, believe it or not, a club that specializes in antique hearses. And they are coming to America to celebrate the 250th anniversary. And we'll be stopping here in Fredonia. And would like to do a car show in the park, and would like to tour everything and taste all of our food and drink all of our offerings, our beverages, and just be here for a couple of days. So we are working with Supervisor Dan Pecos on that when they approached him first.
I talked at great length with Mike Lee about that.
Okay.
It's very interesting. It's like, wow, didn't know there was such a thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, it should be very interesting.
Antique hearses, okay. Next one is, I'm glad Mrs. Twitchell is here. Michelle Twitchell, the Cable Board, can we meet this week before Monday to go through that? Okay. And then the Fire Chief's sale of equipment and / bond payment. Anything to talk about any of those?
I had a couple questions.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I talked to him. Yeah, he called. So what he wants to do is he wants to sell that equipment and then use the funds to pay down bonds that we use to buy equipment. Is that legal? Can we do that? Were they rolled into other bonds?
Yes,
So
we can pay them.
We can apply
Because
it.
they're
You can
actually
apply them.
separated, they all have their own number as far
Okay.
as the bond goes.
All right.
So when Josh called me about that, and we talked
Yeah.
at length about what equipment he wanted to sell, I said that, I would really be in favor of it if the money strictly went towards the bond to pay off
Right.
the old equipment, because we still have that lingering. So I thought that was a great use of that money.
Oh,
It would be a
agree.
great use of that money
Yeah,
to
I
pay
just
off
wanna make
those
sure.
bonds.
Yeah, we
The only
can do
thing I was
that.
thinking is we will need like a list before it goes out.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, no, yeah, but folks, we also signed for an auction.
Yes, but I think we're going to get more money.
And we need to, I agree with that, but I mean, we need to make some dates up here as far as what we want to do. We signed to do an auction. We have not set a date with the auctioneer, and his calendar is filling up quite extensively.
So, just back to the fire for a minute. I
Go right ahead.
thought it was a great idea
Yep.
to get rid of some of this equipment, but the money to directly go to the debt at the fire department, because we still have a lot of bonds out for the fire department.
100%. Good
So,
work, the chief, for doing that.
I thought that was really great, so.
In his request, he wanted to go through a different group.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Different.
That's
Used to
fine.
be Auctions International, and now it's, I don't know, I can't remember the name.
Peterson's. but there's another one that specializes in fire equipment.
Specializes just in fire equipment, so.
And Alyssa, this is pumper 14 and the older ladder truck, correct?
I
Yes.
don't know
Yes.
what the list
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
We'll also need to see the contract that the auction company has.
Absolutely,
Approve
yeah.
that.
For Mike's auction, or
No.
Josh?
No, we already
whatever
signed for
company
this.
Oh,
Josh is
I
with.
think that, I'm not sure it's an auction. I don't think it's an auction site is what he's
Oh,
looking
okay.
at. I think he's looking at direct sales
All right.
is what he's looking at. I don't believe it's an auction.
Well,
Is the way I understood it.
what his email specifically said was, after research and consultation, I recommend listing both vehicles through garage, buy and sell emergency vehicles, a specialized marketplace for used emergency apparatus. This approach is expected to maximize market exposure and improve potential cost recovery for the village. So yeah, it doesn't sound like an auction. It sounds
No,
like they'll
I
list
wasn't,
them and.
I just didn't want to read all that, so that's, I had talked to him about this, and he said, no, I'm just going to put it, like I have a website,
Right, it's
I have
like-
all these websites to put
It's
it
like selling
on.
the car in marketplace, get
Right,
out there again.
right.
Carvana for fire trucks.
There you go.
Pretty much.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other discussion under new business at this point? And then under old business, the first one, I'm going to warn the board that just like also all lawsuits, we're really not allowed to speak on it. I will say that we had a very successful clearing of the Econo Lodge. People were safely located to other locations. The building has been condemned as per our zoning and code office, and naturally, there's going to be some pushback on it. And that's all I'm going to say about it at this point, because we are in the middle of negotiations with attorneys as we speak, and we were supposed to have an appearance Wednesday in Supreme Court, and we've just located our attorneys, so we will be delaying that to a future date.
Is that a different attorney that
We will need
discussed?
a resolution for that, too.
Right, so we will need a resolution on Monday. I'll send you the information.
Thank you.
Same group, just different project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, public water meeting with Labella. I was in negotiations with Fredonia Superintendent Brad Ziliak, who was great to talk to. It's always great to talk to Brad, and he was very excited about having it there. Unfortunately, we're getting to the end of the school year, so all the dates are being filled up. And so we originally projected 26th, 28th, but a local dance company has those dates, so we're going to have to pick some other dates and get back to him. He's more than willing, so we can use the school for the project. We could use both the cafeteria and then do the presentation in the odd, or whatever we want to do. But the bottom line is, he is willing to let us utilize the school for that. So I would suggest that we put on our thinky caps and get back to me
What
with some
dates did you
dates.
have?
We had the 26th and 28th. Christina, you may be able to give us more information. What is it best to just go into June with this?
It's best to go into June.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, we've looked at this extensively. 28th is no-go, so let's go into June, early June.
So like the 4th or the 11th,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
see
We'd like a
what-
Thursday, if possible.
Thursday,
Yeah, see what the school has available in
the
June.
4th or the 11th. Let's pick two dates, and
Yeah,
if they could give us,
yeah, yeah.
4th is fine, or the 11th.
Okay. Honk.
What's going on with the hawk?
So we're waiting for, because we were increasing fines for parking, we need to update the law. So we had asked our attorneys to update that for us. She turned that over to her assistant. Or listen, were you able to get hold of her?
I emailed her, what, was it Friday that we
Okay.
talked about it?
She was in a hearing all day, that was who called me, that's why I stepped out.
And then
So-
she has another,
Yeah.
she had something to say too,
Yeah,
so.
she had a hearing today, that's why she was calling me back now, she had a hearing
Yeah.
today, so,
Yeah.
sorry that I stepped out.
Oh, nope, that's okay. So, yeah, we need to get that done before we can, the law needs to be passed before we can use honk and set the rates, so.
Is there any way we can discuss with Honk about pausing the
Sure.
charges?
I can
Yeah.
give him a call.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Thank you.
Alyssa, you're getting invoices from them.
That's what I mean is, can we pause that portion of it until we,
I'll give him a call tomorrow.
See if we
We'll
can
be able
pause
to
the
do it.
And get
contract.
clarity on that.
Yeah, so we
Right.
have to pay for something.
Good move.
Yeah.
Before we go to land sale, there's athletic awards on June 4th,
Okay.
That's what I'm worried about, yeah.
so maybe June 11th.
So no.
Yeah.
So 11th, when you said early and you wanted a Thursday, that's why I picked
Yeah.
those dates. So the
All right,
11th or
so
the 18th, I guess.
11th or 18th, okay.
Or
What's
18th.
the
You
18th?
don't have that on the calendar?
11 and 18, I don't have anything, but that doesn't mean that, other
That's
schools.
June.
Certainly,
doing stuff,
certainly.
but-
Friday, Juneteenth is Juneteenth.
That's right.
Friday.
Thank you.
So, okay. Land sale.
So we had previously talked about those, selling those 3 parcels.
Yes.
We wanted to wait until after the new fiscal year before we spend any money on the appraisal, and we're at the end of the fiscal year, so
Just refresh me because it's been a while since we talked about it, but, so you have someone that will do the appraisal. Do you have a price?
$3,500 to do, was it 35 or 50? I'll get back to you.
All right.
I'm gonna check my email now.
So did we approve that or not?
We didn't approve it because we weren't gonna order it yet. We were gonna
Right.
wait, we were gonna wait till we could
Would
actually.
that be to appraise all 3
All
parcels?
3 parcels, yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess we really don't want to sell the other 2 parcels until we know exactly what's happening with everything that has to do with the water. I mean, I wouldn't want to,
Yeah, but no, okay, in my opinion, those parcels are far enough away from any water source. They're
are they?
the southern 2, they're
Okay,
probably 150 acres away from
the reservoir?
the reservoir.
Okay, so, yeah, I think that we need to do that and move on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering if it might be beneficial to have, I think we have in the past, we had a map, right? Showing the
Yeah.
location of the
I have
parcel
we have the parcels.
relative to other, like the reservoir and that.
It's so interesting when you read the deeds about when the people who donated the land and had to make a road for the ice road and this road and that road in the
Yeah.
1800s. It was very, very interesting to read that.
So I'll look through my emails, I'll get the price, I'll send everybody an email or text what the price
Can we
is.
put that on?
And then
for-
have it on the agenda for
Yeah,
Monday.
Monday?
Yeah, or Tuesday.
June 1st, after June.
Tuesday,
Oh,
yeah.
this is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, because if we can, and then we need to, like, I will contact the state again
Yeah.
and tell them we're gonna list it after we get an appraisal and that we're gonna list it.
Okay, before we go into executive session, I just want to update the public. Obviously, this week I was in NICOM and Bolton Landing, 6-hour drive each way. It was well worth going. But one thing that we discussed I found very, very interesting, God bless the people in Albany, and no matter what party you are, update on legislative session, pending legislation of interest that we're going before this, and I got to sit through all 10 pages, all the different laws and the rules that are coming up in New York State that will affect everyone in New York State. And it goes anywhere into a Safe Water Infrastructure Action Program, which would be almost like a CHIPS-like program, but would be utilized for water infrastructure, maintenance of roads, and on and on and on. 10 pages of what is being discussed right now in order to pass this upcoming budget. So I was happy to be able to do that on behalf of the community and this board. So I can update the board another time rather than putting everybody to sleep, listening to me drone on about it. And there's a Sabres game at 7:30, so we want to make sure that we do it.
Chief needed to go into executive session to talk about personnel.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we enter executive session to discuss police matters,
Do we have a second?
personnel matters.
Second.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Cruz-Keefe.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
And Trustee Lazzaroni.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, next Monday will be our next meeting in the full.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday with Memorial Day. We will have our next board meeting here, correct? That is our day, Tuesday?
Yes.
And we will see you here at 6 o'clock. Be safe, have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend, and go Sabres. Talk to you later.
Go Sabres.